Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all for being here. Today is Monday, August the 1st. My name is Roxana Gamusio. I'm the Executive Director with the Cosmetology and Barber Examiners Board, and I will get us started. Notice of this meeting for October 1st, which was the regularly scheduled board meeting, was posted to the board's website on June 7th of 2021, and then this updated agenda was posted as of July 28th. So to get us started, Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
We'd like to welcome everybody who's participating online and the folks we have here in the office as well. We're going to call this meeting to order, and we'll start off with the roll call.
Thank you. Chairman Ron Gillihan.
Here.
Vice Chair Becky Russell.
Here.
Judy McAllister. Ms. McAllister's not here. Patricia Parsons. Here. Thank you. Mona Sappenfield.
Here.
Amy Tanksley. Frank Gambusa. Mr. Gambusa is not here. Anita Charlton. Ms. Charlton is not here. Janie Ross. Here. Monica Lemons.
Here. Jeffrey
Moran. Here. And Kimberly Ray. Chairman Gillihan, we have quorum in order to proceed.
Thank you very much. First order of business is the approval of the June 2022 minutes. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are ready now for the next item on the agenda, which is our school applications, I believe.
Thank you, Chairman Gillihan. I will go ahead and get us started with our appearing before the board. Just a quick note for the board. Dr. John Cagle is not going to be doing a second term with us, so he thanked the board for all the work that you do and was very sorry to not be able to continue. So we will have two vacancies at this time, our public member and then our public member with a bachelor's degree. That is open. And then moving on with the school items, starting on page 3. The first application before you is for Memphis Barber College. This is a change in location. Mr. Emery Hammonds, Mr. Hammonds, are you on the call? If the board has any questions and we need to delay this, we can. He was aware that he'd need to participate, but I believe this is a simple modification of his floor plan. We have the application, the fee, and the floor plan that was received timely. He basically has just moved things in the same building. It's not that he actually moved its exact same address, but he was moving the floor space substantially that impacts the public. So it did have to be a new change of location application.
Have any questions? The only changes was his location, I think. So it's all the documents were the same.
All documents were the same, and like I said, the address isn't actually changing. He moved, I think, shampoo bowls, chairs, just a way to make the space look bigger, and so nothing major from his part.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Do we need a reinspection on this, Roxana?
We will, just with the field inspector, if that's okay.
Okay.
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on your iPad, starting with page 6, we have Legacy Beauty Institute. This is a change in location. Ms. Priscilla Heron is on the call to answer any questions you have. This is a school in Milan. The application, updated enrollment agreement, catalog, and floor plan were received timely. If you have any questions, I'll make sure Ms. Priscilla can unmute herself and answer. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Heron. Since this is just a change of location as well, I guess the question I always tend to ask is, are you moving very far? That would be an inconvenience on your students.
Ms. Heron, you're on mute. If you would unmute yourself so you could respond to Mr. Gillihan's question. Ms. Herron, you're still on mute. If you could unmute yourself to respond. John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. It looks like Miss Herron is still muted.
Okay.
Roxana, that's not a requirement.
Okay,
It's just something
correct.
that I generally like to ask just for the sake of the students. We can certainly move on from that. Are there any questions about her documents?
As I was looking over her documents, it looks like the curriculum is from the textbook and not from the rules. So I would like her to change that out, please. Other than that, it looked great to me.
Is this school? Amy, could I get your button on? Thank you.
Sorry, is this school in good standing?
Yes, they are.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion? We have a motion and a second to approve the Legacy Beauty Institute change in location. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Roxana, again, an inspection. Is that going to be necessary here?
Only a field inspector, again, because the school is in good standing. And I will make sure that Ms. Herron updates the curriculum that's in the rules and inserts that into the enrollment agreement for the students.
Thank you. Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have a new school. This starts on page 52 of your iPads. This is Lynn's Academy of Cosmetology. It's a new cosmetology apprenticeship school. Ms. Acerlian Sanders is participating on the call. This school is located in Memphis. The application, curriculum, blank enrollment agreement, catalog, floor plan, and a contingency plan were all received timely. If you have any questions, Ms. Herron, I apologize, Ms. Sanders is on the call, and we'll make sure that she can unmute herself.
Good morning, Ms. Sanders. Thank you for joining us today.
We can barely hear you. Can you test your mic again, Ms. Sanders? Ms. Sanders? You're muted right now.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, but it's very low. I don't know if you can increase your volume. I can hear your voice, but you are coming across pretty low. And that's the reason I have John periodically test us to make sure that the audio is working great. But if it won't increase your volume, I'll make sure that the members can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Very, very, very low. It's almost like your volume is at the lowest you can have it, just about. You're unmuted now. Go ahead and test your volume.
Testing.
It is very low. We're going to try our best to hear you, and if not, after the meeting, anything that the board says needs to be changed, I'll make sure that you can hear us at least. I'll turn it over back to you, Chairman Gillihan.
Thank you, Roxana. Ms. Sanders, I did have just a couple of questions here. Let's see. In your admission policies, there needs to be a statement of what are the actual requirements for licensure from the state. I believe, typically I will see things like state requires 1,500 hours in the program, and you complete state curriculum, things like that. I did not see all of that. I did see your admissions policies, and that was fine. But that is something you might want to take a look at. For us members, there's a requirement for age and education level to be identified on the enrollment agreement. Certainly they have the birth date here, so that's the age is on there. While the state no longer requires a high school diploma, as we're aware, there still needs to be some identification of what level of education that student has. So that portion was missing, so it doesn't say if they have a 10th grade or 12th grade or college or whatever, but that was missing. If any of you have seen that somewhere else, I just did not.
I have it in my curriculum, so you're saying put it on the enrollment agreement.
Ms. Sanders, we cannot hear you. If you can say it a little bit louder, I'm going to try our best to hear. Do you have the level of education on one of your pages?
On the on the curriculum, I have the ages on there on page 4 on the curriculum, page 4.
Yeah, the age was not the problem at all. The age, certainly, I saw that. It was just what education level they had, if they were 10th grade or higher. So I'm just putting that out there for you to be aware of. When you mention page 4, also, that brings me down to my next little note. This is more of a housekeeping thing for you, I think, but your pages seem to be misnumbered. Each page is identified as page 1 of 1 or 5 of 5. That doesn't really kind of follow through so that it would be easy to identify the entirety.
Okay, I'm confused. On the mission of requirements where the curriculum is, after the 8 has a 10th grade education, if I'm understanding what you're saying.
Okay.
And it goes on to talk about the diploma and the GED and so far.
That's fine.
Ron,
On the
see page 72 on our iPads
Thank
under
you.
admissions requirements. Is that what you're looking for?
That's exactly what I'm
That's
looking
it.
for.
Okay.
Thank you, Amy.
Yeah. Sorry, you're better at the needle in the haystack than I am. So.
Oh, no, it's right there. I felt like it would be. I just couldn't find it. Thank you.
no problem.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Let's see. In your enrollment agreement, you do have all of your hours as far as what schedule students are going to be attending on, but we did not see any notation of your days and hours of operation in the enrollment agreement. Is it Tuesday through Saturday, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5? That's what I was looking for on that. Okay.
Ron, I had a hard time finding that as well, but I did find it.
Page 87
Uh,
or somewhere else?
there's, it says Tuesday through Saturday, and it gives the times of days. I'm not sure where I found it, but I was able to locate it.
I think that's on page 87 of hours with information about makeup time.
I have a question about the teach-out agreement.
Uh-huh.
So, if this is a apprenticeship school, could you explain to me how that works? Like you've listed Gould's Academy, and to my knowledge, they are not a apprenticeship school. So, how does that work? Do they because once they've designated that they are apprenticeship, it's my understanding that they have to stick with that program and not go, because I'm very aware of students that are in a little bit of a predicament right now because they entered into apprenticeship schools and that aren't really working for them, and they wanted to go to another school that's accredited, and it's not working out for them. So could you tell me how it's going to work out for your students? What kind of agreement do you have there?
Okay. So what I also thought about that I could do online classes after I had completed this curriculum as well. I'm not planning on going out of business, but I just want to make sure that I cover that area in case unseen circumstances does happen, where there are other schools in Memphis that I believe are apprenticeship, like Destiny School. So I would have to get back with State Board if there's a reason that they cannot take those students on. I would just get back with State Board and see what would be the necessary thing to do in that case. Because I'm sure that we could come up with a remedy to be able to, for them to continue their education and getting their hours.
Well, the apprenticeship programs are not set up, and I certainly don't feel like you're set up for failure, but they're not set up that if someone does not want to complete that kind of program, it's very difficult to just be umbrellaed in an accredited program. So I think, I don't think there's any rule that you have to state that, but I think in, the integrity of the schools, it's a little misleading that you would list schools that I know they couldn't go to.
Okay, all right. I was assuming if, okay, I got you on that. So I'll have to see what's going on with that.
And Ms. Sanders, this is Roxanne. I think, clarify a little bit. So you have Empire, Gould, and Paul Mitchell. The theory portion done at the school, that 50%, it is very possible that any school could help you out in the event of an emergency and work on the theory. It would be at the discretion of that school. I think what Mona's getting at, and she's probably completely right, is the schools that are accredited and not doing apprenticeship likely wouldn't be able to do that easily because their students are doing practical and theory at the same time. And so on that section, which is part of your contingency plan and is required, if you are changing which schools you would do a teach out, if you could let me know, and then if it's okay with the board, we'll make sure that that's updated on your plan.
Okay, thank you.
Roxanne,
Yes.
I think you're exactly right on that. You're both really right here. With an accredited school, it's not very simple to add
different
that
rules.
extra program. It's different rules. They can't just overnight say, yeah, we'll take these students if they don't already have approval for that program from their accreditors, the Department of Education. So that might potentially be a problem. But in this scenario, she does have a contingency plan that discusses how they would follow through with managing the financial balancing of the accounts and things like that for the students, and presenting their transcripts and all those kind of things that sometimes can lead into difficulty. So that she does have a plan for those. It's on our pads. It's on page 58. Ms. Sanders, and again, I had some questions about your teach-out plan as well. Your institution acknowledges that in the event of an actual planned closure to the institution, what about an unplanned? Is this the same thing you're going to provide? If you're going to move or something like that, or if you're going to have some kind of issues that you can foresee, that's a planned change. But God forbid a fire or a storm shuts you down. Is this also your unplanned?
Yes, there is a beauty salon right next door to me. I can either, I already talked to her. We can either continue there until we get back in a building. I also own a beauty salon right around the corner from the school, where the school is located, and in a neighboring school that we have other boutique schools here in Memphis that I have a relationship with the school owners, that I could go there and continue the education for the students until we can get into another building or until that building is constructed back to where it was. so we can continue those classes in that school setting.
Okay. Thank you. I think maybe the members might just have that concern that there's a difference between planning to have a teach out and actually having one in place. So I think that was just kind of concerned.
Roxana, is there a way to get a list of all the apprenticeship schools?
Yes, when schools renew both barber and cosmetology, that question is asked of them because you don't need to apply any in a special way. So I can run those. Right now, we don't have it sitting on the website ready to be used, but we can. But oftentimes when people do public records requests, that's one of the questions, and we can pull that field because the school has that option to check. The question is, are you accredited?
Yeah.
And then are you offering apprenticeship? So based on that, absolutely, we can get that. So if Ms. Sanders wants a list of who has apprenticeship in their schools, she can definitely let me know, and I'll be happy to give that to her. Because the schools that she's listed do not. None of those 3 schools offer apprenticeship.
It's just a differentiator at this point, right? To Ron's point, that if you are accredited, you're not even allowed to offer that program. Is that correct?
Our accrediting agencies don't normally approve that program.
So
It's an externship at some point, so they don't.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Just for folks who, helpful to know what is what. Not as transferable as we would all
Exactly.
think.
Do we have any other questions or comments on that part?
Would you feel comfortable approving this if she were to add a partner school to this list that does fall into a program that's would be
Certainly. I think that's something.
transferable is not the word I'm looking for. Partner. Yes.
There are regulations on those partners. In an apprenticeship, the shop that they go into, they have contracts with the schools as well, and then whoever accepts those students are going to pick up the baggage from all of that. Okay, so schools sometimes have a difficult time doing that.
Fair enough.
So I have a question. What if there is not another apprenticeship school? Then what happens at that point?
That is the question that you have to answer for this teach out plan. That's precisely what the board is looking for from you. What are you going to do if the worst happens and your students don't have anywhere easy to go? I know in your paperwork, I believe you said within a 50-mile radius, and that is laudable, but it might be problematic. So.
There are no online options, are there?
So Ms. Sanders, you definitely can teach virtually, whether
Absolutely.
you're using Teams or Zoom or
Absolutely.
WebEx. So a virtual option and then a short online option using Pivot Point or Milady's curriculum for the theory is doable. Yes, it would work.
Okay, thank you.
Again, I think from what I was seeing in here that was not just really kind of clearly stated, but she did have subsequent documentation in there of how she would handle a closeout versus maybe a teach out.
I just noticed it on this application, but I think there is an assumption with some of the apprentice schools and students of that, well, I'll join up with an accredited program. And it's not as simple as that. And I just think that needed to be discussed as this brought forward the information. Yeah.
Thank you.
Having a list goes on the website.
We can't hear you, Ms. Patty.
The apprenticeship schools listed online would help a lot of these that are trying to go that route.
I mean, the new schools that
The
are
new
applying,
school, yeah.
seeing who they can reach.
And that electronic method is
Yeah.
definitely an option.
Absolutely an option. And it may be their best.
Right.
Okay, I did have a question about your curriculum as well, Ms. Sanders, and I think that we kind of looked at this previously as members. I see that you have the state board curriculum listed here, but again, in one portion, it looks like you also just pulled the information and printed the curriculum from the book chapters, and you've applied a certain number of hours to those. On our iPads, it's on page 61 and 62.
My numbers are totally different. My page
It's your
numbers,
page.
I printed.
Your
page
page 6
6
of 6 and 7 of 7.
What was the question?
Well, I was asking about your curriculum. You have the apprenticeship curriculum, which is on your page 7 of 7. But prior to that, you have what appears to be a curriculum on the previous page. The hours of that curriculum don't quite line up with the state's. I think that they're all potentially absorbed into each other to get the right numbers without doing all that math. I guess what I'm really asking you is, are you intending to use the state curriculum, which is on your page 7 of 7? And is the previous page, is that just informational stuff for the student to see what that chapter is going to look like?
No, I was going to, since I have been licensed almost been licensed 40 years. I've been in this business almost 40 years. And one thing that I want to make sure I teach them is the professionalism, get them into the books and let them know it's all about the learning so they can pass their test. So for me, theory is very, very important. So whatever the state board requires, that's what I'm planning on giving my students, the theory, the permanent way, all of that. So yes, the clock hours, the course names, and all that are the items that I will be teaching at my school due to they need this. They need this to be better stylists, to be more knowledgeable on hair care, sanitation. They need all of this. And like I said, I put my heart into it because I have been licensed almost 40 years and a salon owner like 35 years. So this is not something that I'm just picking up and like just putting it on paper so it can look good for them. No, I'm well known in the city. Most of the people, they waiting on me to open up the school, and most of them are people that been knowing me for years. So it's nothing just thrown on paper. It's just I want to make sure I'm lining up with state board and to give them everything that they need as much as I can for them to be very successful, knowledgeable of their products, and knowledgeable of this hair business.
Thank you for that. Becky, did you have anything on the curriculum?
What curriculums are you going to teach? Cosmetology, you've got listed also manicuring and aesthetics. Are you teaching all of them?
The cosmetology, according to my knowledge, it involves aesthetics. It involves manicuring as well. So that's why I have that listed there. They will be taught a portion of that as well.
That is still considered, if you're teaching just cosmetology, while it does include nails and skin care, you've got listed the curriculum for aesthetics and nail care as a standalone program. And there's nothing wrong with putting it in there. It is part of the rules. As far as, it just is printed as part of the rules. But I was just unclear on if you were actually teaching those standalone curriculums.
No, not at the moment. No, ma'am, I'm not. But maybe eventually, because they've been inquiring about different programs since I told them I was going to do the cosmetology apprenticeship, planning on doing the cosmetology apprenticeship. But I have had some inquiries on barbering school, esthetician as well. So those definitely are in the plan.
There is no problem with the curriculum being in there. I was just more concerned about, did you have the space to teach all of them? Because you had included them. I was just making sure what you were teaching. As far as the curriculum that you have written, the one that's broken down into the hours, it looks like probably textbook chapters. When you're trying to match that up to the state's curriculum, things like the state law don't have a place there in your hand or your written curriculum. So you have to make sure that those hours match up to the curriculum that's in the rules, and I think that's what kind of Ron was talking about. We also, or I personally, like to see how many hours you are spending in theory with that. So a lot of our schools are breaking that down, saying, it's 750 in theory and 700 in practical, or 750 in practical. That would be, in a salon with someone. So, for instance, you've got hair removal, 30 hours. Is that 15 in the theory classroom and 15 in the shop somewhere? So that's kind of helpful for the students to understand that it's not 1,500 hours at your school, and how those hours are broken down. I just would like you to go back through and revisit your curriculum that you've put in there and make sure that it matches the curriculum that you've copied from the rules.
Okay, like on the enrollment agreement, I do
Like
have.
Ron was talking about. We also, or I personally, like to see how many hours you are spending in theory with that. So a lot of our schools are breaking that down, saying, it's 750 in theory and 700
We have a glitch in the matrix.
No, those participating through Teams, someone
You've got hair removal, 30 hours.
is streaming live. If you could stop the live stream.
In the shop somewhere, so that's kind of helpful for the students to understand that it's not 1,500 hours
Sorry,
at
Becky,
your
we'll
school, and how those hours are broken down. I just would like you to go back through and revisit your curriculum that you've put in there and make sure that it matches the curriculum that you've copied from the rules.
Okay, here on the enrollment agreement.
I do have. Ron was talking about. We also, or I personally, like to see.
John, can you mute everybody? Okay. Thank you. I think someone was watching the stream live, which has a delayed effect, and we got a pleasant moment of rehearing ourselves. So it sounds like we are okay. Whoever was watching but doing both parts stopped. So thank you. Becky, I'll turn it back over to you. I apologize.
I was really interesting to hear me talking.
To hear yourself.
Remember what you said.
All right. I think that just revisiting that and making sure that the curriculum that you put down on paper matches the one from the rules, because it looks like the hours might not exactly match what the rules say. So either get rid of yours and follow the states, or break yours down so that the rules or yours matches the rules from the board's website.
Okay, so in the enrollment agreement at the right underneath program, I did break it down at like 21.5 weeks of 750 hours for in-school theory class, and 21.5 weeks, 750 hours for practical hours on the supervising professional.
Yes, ma'am. I saw that. So on your page 6 of 6, if you look on that one, it breaks it down per hour. So you've in there you're saying things like permanent waiving 172.5 hours. Nowhere in your breakdown does it mention state law, and it is required that you teach state law. So things like that is what I'm looking for, to make sure that you are including law in this. I'm sure that you would when you're teaching, but you're not.
Right.
You didn't put it on your curriculum. So either delete yours altogether and leave what the state rules have, which is the next page, or make yours also match the rules that the state laid out.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The one last thing I guess that I had here has to do with your sanitation policy, and I see that on your page 10 of 10, page 65 for us, you do have a sanitation policy labeled, and you have some information down there. I think you missed the overall point of this. You basically outlined your procedures. I think what the state is looking for is your policy on how you're going to address sanitation with your students. Are you going to have your students cleaning your school for so many hours a week? You're going to have them cleaning so many hours a day? How is that built into your program? Are you going to have an outside company? You know, it's really what is your requirement of the students in their day-to-day application in your school, not necessarily your statement of the procedures of how to do it. Does that make sense, Ms. Sanders?
So we will have a cleaning service there, but also I did put it down where the student will do some sanitize before and after they leave class, or in between.
Can you tell me where that is?
Okay, I'm looking for it. Sanitation policy. They talk about changing their disinfection every day. If it's in the curriculum. Let's look at 21 in the curriculum, page 21. Page 21.
I do see what you have on page 21. That's 89 for us. However, that's the same that you had previously. That's not what we're looking for. We're kind of looking for a statement from you of how you're going to have your students required to. Are they going to be required to do the laundry? Are they going to be required to clean the restrooms?
No, they're not going to be required to do that.
That is the kind of statement that needs to be
present.
present.
Make sure. Okay, gotcha.
That was the end of my notes. If anybody else has something to add.
Do you feel comfortable approving this with those changes made?
I would. The items that we've discussed, again, the biggest one in my mind is the contingency, and they're all equally as important. But the contingency on teaching out is super important because it protects the students. The change that she's heard and discussed with us, I think that would satisfy me. So I'll leave.
The list includes the teach out, worst case scenario planning, and then the curriculum changes.
The curriculum changes and the statement about the sanitation. I know she can renumber those pages so that they make a little more sense there. The hours and days of operation, that is, so the inspectors will know when they should be open.
Okay, so that's 5 things. Roxana, you've got that list?
I do, ma'am.
Okay, then I'd like a motion to approve this with those changes being made, that the office can approve it then.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second to approve with the changes as identified. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Congratulations and good luck, and Miss Roxana will work out whatever inspections we need.
Thank y'all so much.
Ms. Sanders, just because we've got a motion to proceed, I just want to make sure to go through the items. The Teach Out plan is going to need to be updated to include your virtual or online options and schools that actually would take the students. The curriculum, as Ms. Russell explained, is duplicative, and one of them they don't jive, so you'll have to correct that. Sanitation policy as it relates to what your true policy is. Renumber the pages, please, and then add somewhere early on in the enrollment agreement the hours and days of operation for the students to see, and then I'll get those from you whenever they're done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And this would require board members, a board member, and a field inspector since it's a new school.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Okay, bye-bye.
Members, we are on page 92. I will let everybody take a minute to get there. And this is a continuing education new provider. Miss Amanda Manigault is on the line with us. All her information has been provided for the 16-hour instructor course. This is online only, and I did have some conversations with Miss Amanda in regards to if this is updated, maybe the members wanting to view it first, but I'll let you all take a look at it and ask any questions you have. Because we're so close to year end, at the December meeting, most likely, we will look at our 2023 continuing education providers because several are offering sessions in October and November. So the October meeting would be too early. So whatever we decide to do here, I just want to suggest that maybe we consider for 2023 as well. So I will turn it over to you, Chairman Gillihan.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us just a little bit about your program?
Yes, my name is Amanda Manigault. Thank you for having me here today. And I offer continuing education, and this is a 16-hour course that I'd like to offer in the state of Tennessee. And this course basically would allow licensees who are renewing their licenses to apply for continuing education. They would go to my website, pay for the course. Upon paying for the course, they would be directed to, they would receive an email with a unique login. That login information would allow them to log in the course, take the course. It is a total 16-hour course that offers activities, case studies, has some material that they can read, they could download and read at a later time and come back in. If they were to leave the course for the activities or the case studies, notes, or anything of that nature, it would log them out. They would have to log back in, and but they do have up to 12 months. At any time, they can come back in and take that course or finish up that course. The course is all about the personality. It is teaching mythology, and it will break down different parts of learning your personality as well as the student's personality. And so with the course, they will, upon completion of the entire 16 hours, they will have an evaluation. They will log back in for their evaluation where they would complete that evaluation, and it will allow them to log in all the activity information that they have taken as far as their notes and things and save it as a PDF. And so they would upload that when they go back in to input their licensing information. And once they upload that and input their licensing information, that will show that they have completed the total 16-hour course, and it will generate their certificate. Upon that certificate being generated, it will also log them in the database. We have a Google spreadsheet that will log in the exact time that they took that class, how long it took them to complete that class, and all the detailed information that we would have available to the state board upon request or upon the monthly date that is agreed upon, that I would have to submit that information to you.
Thank you for that. Members, do you have any questions for her?
I'd like to ask if I am a quick reader or I'm really smart and I want to take these tests or quizzes or assessments or whatever, could I potentially get through this quicker than 16 hours?
Unfortunately, you would not be able to because the way everything is timed. So you would have to complete the amount of time that is allotted for each segment. Each segment has a time frame. And so what you could do is go back and review the information, but you must complete the time that's allotted for that particular section.
I understand that the segments would be self-directed. I guess the attendee could log in and out and come and go as they please to their schedule necessities. Is this monitored live while they're in session? Is this completely asymmetrical where they can just come and go without any oversight there?
It is monitored live. Everything from the moment they sign in, it is timed. So yes, it is monitored. And so if they sign out or if they're stagnant for a certain period of time, it would automatically log them out.
So I guess I'm asking, is this an asymmetrical program or a symmetrical program?
It is an asymmetrical program.
So if I log in at 3 in the morning to do the program, because that is a convenient time for some folks, there's going to be a person who is watching that, so I can ask a question, I can participate in some way.
I apologize for that. No, there will not be a live person there. Everything is computerized, but they can submit their questions, and we would have a time frame. We have a support system there, so they would submit their questions by email or anything like that, and we can get back with them if they have any type of problem or anything like that they need an answer to. So while they're in the system, it is being timed, but if they have those questions, they can submit them, and we will get back to them on those questions.
But
it is interactive.
Okay. On our page 98, folks, if that's where you're at, I believe that's the curriculum that they've submitted. Doesn't really tell us how much time they're going to spend in any given segment. I don't know how much importance you need to place to that. Ms. Manigault, in the past, we have had some difficulty with these asymmetrical programs because what we've found is the attendee typically has the ability to not actually spend the required amount of time actually engaged in that program. It's been very difficult to measure that, and we have found in most cases that they could, if not speed through the entire block of time that you have allotted, they can speed through the videos and the information that's there without much oversight, and thereby shortcutting the amount of time that they actually are spending in the learning environment. Now, we understand that we're trying to get to a place where we can be convenient for people's schedules and all these things. An asymmetrical program, again, we've had lots of difficulties with those. For myself, I would like to see your program and see that it's going to work properly so that the attendee could not manipulate the system. Okay.
Excuse me. I would like to ask, what platform were you going to use to deliver the program?
My course is loaded through Kartra, which is a membership program. So once they get their unique login, all the information will be in their system. And so each section is broken down with a time frame. So which means, in other words, they won't be able to skip because there will not be a fast forward button or anything like that for them to fast forward. Now, they can rewind if they need to go back and review a section over, but they cannot go forward. So when that particular section is finished, then they can move on to the next section, but they will not even have access to the next section until they finish the current section that they're on. And so it will be in the Kartra platform.
I mean, I'm all for these options. I do agree with you, Ron, that I think you and Becky put in some hours and hours of review with the previous program that we had, and I would rather do that on the front end of things this time, because I think that was a bad experience for everyone involved, including the folks who took the online course and then didn't meet their hour requirements and had to take another course, if I recall. That was not a good situation for anyone. So my ask would be that we get a chance to review the program to ensure that it's meeting our needs before we would approve. And if it does, go for it. But that would be my ask.
Other comments or questions?
I had one more question. Is there an assessment at the end of each section?
At the end, not at the end of each section. Excuse me. There is a final assessment at the end where they will be assessed for the entire program. But I can add an assessment at the end of each section. Currently, there's an overall assessment at the end where, they just get asked certain questions, and until they answer them properly, they wouldn't be able to move forward. But so, yes, I can add that.
If they failed the assessment, would they still receive their hours?
Yes, because the state, because it's not required that they pass the exam, they would still receive their certificate. However, we make it easy for them to learn the answers, because if they get it wrong, if there are options there, because there are multiple choice questions where they'll be able to get it corrected and be able to review it at a later time.
I can go back and rewind and review each session.
Exactly. Excuse me.
I have a question. I don't really even know how to phrase this, but is there like an academic review of this material that, like when you're presenting a quiz to test someone on, whether they're right or wrong, this seems more like a psychology class. And I just wondered if there's some kind of academic review or if the board approves it, does that actually give you a review of your material? I'm not sure where.
I'm with Amy. I'd like to see a presentation before I could approve anything.
Absolutely. I can send that presentation to you, as well as a unique login for you to log in and sign in at any time, not just for the approval of this, but at any time. Because I am certified with a couple other states, and I have submitted logins for them where they can go in at any time and just go through randomly and take the course at any time. And so I can also provide that to your state, and you can go in at any time as well. And I can provide the presentation that I have, the whole overall presentation that you can review as well.
Sounds good.
It is a PowerPoint that includes all the activities, all the case studies, all the audio, as well as the video.
Roxana, can you forward that to all the board members to look at?
Absolutely. So, Ms. Amanda,
Okay.
if that's good with you after the meeting, if you'll send me the presentation piece, and I'll still make sure that the board members vote on how to proceed. But that unique login, I'll probably, depending on the decision here, is only give that out to 1 or 2 members that are going to actually get in and view it. But the presentation, I'll make sure to send to all 12 of our board members.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Do you have any other questions or motions?
Make a motion that we postpone approving upon reviewing the status of what she's going to send to the state.
I second that motion.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second to postpone for a represent with the information for us to review. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Ms. Manigault. If you've got any questions, you and I can connect. I've made notes, and if you'll send me both of those items. The board meets again that first Monday in October. I believe it's October the 3rd. And if they've got any questions in between, I'll make sure that they have your information to reach you directly. Is that okay?
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we proceed to the legal report, board members, I see Mr. Emery Hammond on our call. Mr. Hammond, can you hear me? You are muted, sir. Mr. Hammond, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. The board already reviewed your application. As you saw on the agenda, yours was the first school presented as we started at 9 a.m. and you weren't on the call. However, they have approved it. So they didn't have any questions. As soon as you're ready for the field inspector, just send me an email, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Board member, I think now if it's back on the agenda, we will turn it over for the legal report, and Michael Underhill is here to answer any of your questions. If you will, on your iPads, just make sure to hit the upper left-hand corner to the library to open the legal report. And Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, board members. Can you hear me okay?
There you go.
Good morning, Michael.
On the legal report, we have 83 items for the board's consideration, 65 cosmetology complaints, 14 barber complaints, and then 4 represents. So I will now open it up for the board's, some habits die hard, for the board's review and questions.
Thank you, Michael.
I only had one question on this one, and this one is for 63. This is talking about a school, and it says students were not receiving kits. Then it looks like let's see, it was explained during orientation that kits are not included in the tuition. Anyway, the way it looks, the kits are not being provided at the school or by the school, or anyway, kits have to be, all students need a kit by a certain number of hours depending on what program they're in. So I'm unclear about how we have a school that doesn't have a kit. Am I reading that properly?
What I can do on that is I can pass that and specifically have the school address how do they get kits, if at all, if that's the question that.
Right.
Okay.
I just need to make sure that the students are getting.
They have to have kits. So
right.
What's the okay?
Yeah.
And the school doesn't have to charge for it or do anything. It's not spelled out, but they have to assist the student to make sure the student kit is provided and available to them. And sometimes it's built into the tuition up front. Other times, after a certain number of hours, they charge it separately. There's a little bit of everything, but you are correct. There has to be a way to work out that kit so the students have it.
The way it's worded here, it looks like it almost looks like they would prefer that they don't have a kit. And anyway, I just wanted to clarify what they're doing about student kits.
Okay. I will pass that to the next meeting and then specifically have them address that one issue.
I'd also like to discuss number 70 on page 24. I'd like to understand that a bit more and what are next steps.
Just 1 second. This one was a little interesting since a notice of violation was not issued. My recommendation is to go back and basically just perform a fresh inspection and check all licensed activity, both shop and individual. That way we cover everything in the complaint.
Gotcha. Thank you. That was loud.
Michael, I definitely agree with that. The barbers have obtained their licenses in their respective countries of origin.
That was the answer that was provided.
Looking for a Tennessee license.
Well, I will say in my own experience as a shop owner, it has been interesting. We've been meeting more and more people who had a license in maybe another state but have not applied for reciprocity or received it, who is part of our findings, have been working for a while in the area. So it's just been an interesting note. And I know we're understaffed with inspectors, and it's part of it. So thank you.
Are there any other questions or changes we need to make? If not, do we have a motion to approve with the changes?
I'll make a motion to approve with the changes.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Mike. And before we move on to the applications and back to the presentation, just a quick update. Of course, our fiscal year ended June 30th. Our inspections tend to go through the end of July. And just speaking to the supervisor and director in charge of the field inspectors, they've completed all of the shop inspections that are, your initials, change of locations, and obviously the annual follow-ups. So, which is a great thing. But anytime you all or people you work with hear of someone that's unlicensed, sanitation concerns, you can definitely open the complaints yourself. And actually a pretty big percentage, maybe 10 or 15%, we send the field inspectors out based on these emails. Just an email that says, I saw on Facebook, or I heard that this person's unlicensed. So those are a lot of the pieces that our field inspectors do go to. And hopefully we go at the right time and right day so we can catch and inform them, or, if they're working on license, that's a lot of the cases that you see here. Thank you. We are back to our applications, and the applications for examination. Give me a minute to switch my piece as well.
You're doing that, Roxanne. I want to welcome our guests that have just joined us. Are you with the school? Could someone tell us which school you're with? Thank y'all for coming in. Appreciate your drive.
Hi. iPad is being a little bit feisty, but give me a minute and see if I can switch. For our felony applications, they start on page 100, and we have two individuals. The applications for examination, these requests were received for Mr. Kevion McDonald and Damian Newville. These applicants have felonies within the last 3 years and or are currently incarcerated. The request is that they take the examinations pending the board members' approval. We do an agreed order for these individuals for a 2-year probationary license. As soon as that's received, their license can be approved. I'll let the members see if they've got any questions. On occasion, we have extended those agreed orders, and at this time, we did not have to approve anyone that was already needing the license and needing to work. So you only have those 2 applicants.
We making a motion to approve them to test with the 2-year agreement?
Correct.
All right, that is my motion. I would like to move forward.
We have a motion and a second by Mona to approve with the 2-year agreed order. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We're on to our applications for reciprocity, and this time we have 2 that applied and that the board does need to review. These start on page 108. Give me a minute. First, you have an application for reciprocity from Ontario, Canada for Miss Annette Barkley. The letter from Ontario's Ministry of Colleges states that 1,500 hours were received through an apprenticeship program in 1984. The documentation from the Alberta Institute shows theory and practical exams passed in 1993. Ms. Barkley provided a juryman certificate issued in June of 1993 as a hairstylist. I personally am not aware of what this certificate equals to, but at this point, my recommendation would be, unless the board members have anything else, that she take the practical exam, and I'll let you review the documentation.
The practical or the theory?
What we have done in the past when individuals have been working for a long time is gone with the practical exam, as it is hands-on, it is about sanitation, and really focuses on protecting the public.
She does have an active license somewhere.
In Canada.
In Canada.
And actually, that's a very good question. If you look on page 114, that certificate, which isn't the same as our license, would show that it expired July 22nd of 1997. And so she'd have the education. They attested to the exams, again, in Canada, and work experience. And it's at the board's discretion if you think she needs both exams. But we've been considerate of work experience often and just ask for the practical.
I'll make a motion for her to take the practical portion of the theory, not the theory, because she has had the work experience with it.
We have a motion and a second to approve with practical exam. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are we on the practical exam scheduling? Is that something folks are getting into within a month? Within what does that look like?
So right now they are pretty much back on track, and that means that you should, within the next 2 to 3 weeks, find a spot.
Okay.
What I say to our instructors are, if you can't, reach me, because our representatives, Lynn Thomas, is welcome, always open spots if they're needed. But keep in mind that people can test from home now. So all of our candidates need to know that. That changed February of this year. So they can take the theory exam virtually. And what happens when you go to register yourself is it asks you where you want to test, and that would be any part of Tennessee in the 8 or so locations, or virtually. So to test virtually, and this is an amendment that the board members, you all approved in middle 2021. I mean, it went into effect like October of 2021. So the amendment included approving both of those exams virtually. And so as long as you have a laptop, access to a camera, access to audio and internet, you should be able to do that.
Both exams, the theory and the practical.
Correct. And when you select those options, obviously you have to pass the theory first. So let's say you do your theory from home. PSI sends you a link to the system, because you're not going to be able to be on Google or you're checking email while you're on this. I've also spoken to a lot of educators, instructors, and school owners, and suggested that if they have a room in their school, they make that safe room available. And by safe, I mean closed door. Kids and dogs can't run in and out, right? It's got to have, and that computer available. And that is a marketing tool to the school to have those students, because so many of our students now just use their phones for everything.
Yeah.
So I find as when I speak to them in particular, they don't have access to a laptop, and that's the only way it'll really work. But the practical is also a great option. I think it's a little bit more cumbersome, but For those students that have practiced in a virtual setting at school, I mean, you have to show the mannequin, you have to show your labels, and as long as you can do that, you can take that exam virtually as well.
Gotcha. And if you go online today, you can find an open date to take your practical within 2 to 3 weeks.
Should be able to, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Great
That's
question.
great. Thank you.
you.
Amy, just personally, something I'm aware of, there's a small nail school in Lebanon, and they have dedicated some space in their school for their test center. They've got their own cameras set up in there. The cameras that spin around. They show the whole room, and I think they've been doing a wonderful job with it.
That's very cool. Learn something new every day.
We have the next one.
Forever changing.
Yes, it is. And just to add, it's not obviously just our industry. So PSI and other testing vendors, they're not alone, but they've been using the online testing for real estate appraisers, for contracts. So it's been available. The security system's been in place, but COVID definitely pushed the urgency. So we ran with it at that point. Okay, back on Reciprocity, we have an application for Reciprocity, and this starts on page 117 of your iPads. This is an aesthetics license from Connecticut for Carissa Onofrio. The certificate shows an initial licensure in March of 2021. Ms. Onofrio has provided a transcript showing 600 hours completed in 2007. She also provided a reference letter saying that she fulfilled the aesthetics program and was in an assistant manager role for 10 years. Connecticut did not start licensing estheticians until just a couple of years ago. And so there are no state exams for Connecticut. Anyone that was practicing was grandfathered in at that point. So we don't have an actual certificate that gives her exact date. You can see this says March 2021, but based on the other documents she provided, she's been practicing at least since 2007. My recommendation would be that she take the practical exam.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve with a practical exam. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We are moving on to our miscellaneous items, and they start on page 130 of your iPads. First, before you, you have a request to waive the need to retest, and this is pursuant to 0440-01-.10, which states that an applicant must pay for and obtain their first license within 6 months after passing the examination. The board may, for good cause, waive this requirement. The board has previously given me the authority to extend out for 6 additional months, giving us a full year. In this case, Ms. Caitlin Gallagher provided an explanation and supporting medical documents explaining why she failed to apply for her initial license until now. She passed her practical exam on October 29th of 2019.
In 2019, when she passed the practical, she would have had the 6 months starting from that time. And correct me, were we in the middle of COVID during that?
Yes, yes. Okay. I believe we've extended this option and not had them test for someone that even tested in 2018 due to, as long as we have an explanation, the board has been comfortable approving the requests, but it's completely up to you.
And I'd like to make a motion to approve the request and get this person licensed. Ms. Gallagher.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have the same request. This is pursuant to 0440-1-.10, which states that an applicant must pay for and apply for their original license within 6 months after passing the examination. The board may, at its discretion, waive for good cause this requirement. Ms. Martha McMillan has provided an explanation saying that she was having financial problems. She passed her exam on January 27th of 2021.
I would also like to make a motion that we approve this for licensing.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have a request to waive the retest pursuant to the same 0440-1-.10, which states that an applicant has 6 months from the original passing of the exams to apply for their first license for good cause. The board may waive that. Ms. Wendy McWhite provided an explanation due to family emergencies and financial issues. She was not able to apply until now. She passed her practical exam March 31st of 2021.
Make a motion to approve this for licensing.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. On your iPads on page 146, we have a request to waive the need to complete the 300-hour curriculum relevant to Public Chapter 955 for the dual instructor license. This request is from Ms. Sharon Wilson. Ms. Wilson is a barber instructor as well as a school owner. Her request is before you because she was in the middle of the pipeline, as I'll call it, when this new law and this new path came forth. So she has been working on the license for the cosmetology license. And as the board members know, up until this new path that we can definitely discuss in greater depth, an individual had to obtain their basic license first, become a cosmetologist, wait 3 years, pass both exams, wait 3 years, and then obtain the instructor license. So in her case, she went ahead and this law went into effect when she'd already paid for and scheduled her practical. We spoke and she decided to go ahead and take it. So in essence, you have a passing theory and practical as the basic cosmetologist. And obviously this path would not require the exams. So as I interpret it, the exams would be proof that she's more than competent to work as a cosmetologist. Obviously she's competent as an instructor because she already has that license. So we would be asking the board to approve her for this upgraded dual license that we're calling without her needing to take the additional 300 hours because in essence she's passed the exams. I don't know how many people we have in the pipeline. My first guess as the calls started coming in was anywhere between 20 and 30 individuals. As everybody starts talking about it more, we'll soon find out. So based on what we do here, I would like the board's permission to look at these applicants as they're, coming along. Because in her case, Ms. Wilson now has her cosmetology license, but she'd have to then take 300 hours. She wouldn't even have to wait the 3 years. That path waives that. But taking the 300 hours for someone that passed the exam doesn't really make any sense. So I would suggest that we waive that and think about what else could be in the pipeline and have that conversation.
She's already a licensed barber. She is now a licensed cosmetologist. She's a barber instructor and simply wants the dual license for a cosmetology instructor.
Correct.
Seems pretty simple.
I think the exams obviously even outweigh the 300-hour curriculum, right? They prove that she's ready to and protect the public and her students will benefit.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Roxana, I'm just thinking big here.
That's what we need today. That's what
sorry.
we're here for, yes.
I'm sorry. Is this in any way going to impact the 3-year requirement of experience as a cosmetologist or barber? You understand how that rule comes together?
So that rule is still always there for your first license.
For the first one. Okay.
Right? So
and we
she
agreed
waited
to pass
her
it for the
first
second.
This new path relevant to Public Chapter 955 doesn't have anybody wait.
Right.
So the 3 years are gone. They also don't need the basic license, right? So she wouldn't have needed or any exams. They just need to have the active instructor full license on one of the two sides. And when I refer to full, it would be the full cosmetology instructor or full barber instructor. As Hugh and I have debated this, your aesthetics instructor, manicure instructor, or natural hairstyling instructor do not have the full ability to teach all of the curriculum, right? So they're sort of excluded from this path. They're probably the experts and can teach their discipline, but not the full path. So it's that full instructor that has to have the 300-hour curriculum. There is no waiver of that 300-hour at all to get that second instructor. However, for these folks in the pipeline, and that's my second request of you all, is if they've either completed the crossover and can show that proof, and then obviously they're good to get their second license as an instructor, or have tested and passed both, I'd like the permission to approve those, because those exams guarantee us that they've had it. I can't think of another scenario of the folks in the pipeline. That's kind of where we've sat. But we may have some that have been waiting the 3 years and
they're still stuck in the middle.
And are stuck in the middle. And obviously, if that's the case, then I guess we'll take it case by case. As long as they've passed the exam, that's very clear. If they have the certificate, then they're good to go. No one should be waiting on the 3 years for their basic. They still have to. For that very first exam, they still need it. And so hopefully that'll explain where we're at. The schools and the continuing education providers I've spoken to in the last month are very excited about this path. So just to kind of let all the board members know, what we are doing is when you obtain your first full instructor license, it's going to say, as Ron's or Becky's does or Patricia, cosmetology instructor or master barber instructor. When you use this path to obtain the second license, we are calling it a dual cosmetology instructor or a dual barber, because that dual identifies to us that you didn't need the exams, the 3-year wait, or the additional education, right? Just that 300 hours. And it's important to separate it so we don't have people, let's say Mona tomorrow decided to teach. It's going to be her first instructor license, so she really wouldn't qualify to skip the exams or the 3-year wait. So that dual wouldn't be open to her. Does that make sense?
It would have been open to someone like Becky who has
absolutely
jumped through.
Yeah, now she
all the
has
hoops.
both. She's got a solid both.
Yes,
But
and waited all the years.
Yes.
And yeah, yep.
And I use Patricia as an example. Absolutely. It would be open for that instructor to quickly take the 300 hours. And to our schools, I let them know if you don't have that crossover curriculum, it's a pretty simple curriculum to put together. We don't have to vet it. We're not doing rules to create it. It's on fundamentals of cosmetology and pedicuring, fundamentals of barbering and shaving. So that should work.
You're asking us to make a motion so that you can, on an individual by individual basis, make these decisions on pass or,
Correct. And my thought is it's going to be those that have tested and already have that basic that are stuck.
I would make a motion. Sometimes you have to be careful what you ask for, but go right ahead.
We actually already have a motion to approve.
Okay.
It's been seconded. I would ask if you would like to amend your motion to authorize Roxana to approve those in the pipeline as we've just discussed. Okay. So that motion has been amended, and Mr. Jeff, you had seconded that, I believe. Okay. Is that clear as mud?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. So we're going to vote to approve this application and also at the same time give Roxana that necessary authority. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. And I will keep everyone abreast in October of how this path is rolling out and we're seeing, but hopefully it'll be a great thing. On your iPads, I believe we're on page 149. This is a request to waive the need to retest, and this is two different statutes. So TCA 62-4-132 is for retired inactive licenses, and 62-4-117 is for lapsed licenses. In these cases, you can retire a license and it has a fee, and you would ask in writing for the board to put your license in retired status. Or if you fail to renew within 3 years, that statute says you'd have to retest by taking the laws and rules and then the full practical. This request is from Ms. Ramonia Bledsoe. She was first licensed in 1975. Her license has expired in February of 2015. Ms. Bledsoe, on her email that is on page 149, explains that she was given misinformation and she thought that she had deactivated her license, and then she came back to try to reinstate it. And of course, at that point, it was explained to her that she would need to take the reinstatement exams. She explains on her note that she had extenuating circumstances in life that delayed her from making this connection. And I'll turn it over to the board. As you know, there is no waiver of the exams for those lapsed licenses. I believe on at least one occasion, I was able to see a mistake made on our side. That was not the case here. I don't have any documents that support, and that's not to say that that wasn't her intent when she called, but I don't have anything that I can share with the board to support the request. We also do not have a deactivated license. You can retire it, you can go inactive, and then you would need to reinstate.
A retired license simply requires payment of the fee and then I believe a review of the law test. Am I correct on that?
So if you retire your license, it's a $50 fee to place the license on retired status. It's an interesting statute because then you can't practice. It's retired. When you need it back, if you're under the age of 65, you do need to take the exams to come back. If you're over 65, you don't. So it's a little bit, just a little bit concerning. But
So you're saying there's some options here.
So,
Okay.
so we do, anytime we have a younger individual claim to retire, we send a letter that says, by the way, you will need to retest when you come back. There's no inactive basic license. You can make your instructor license inactive if you're not teaching, and then it's just the continuing education. But otherwise, if you don't want to keep up with paying for the license, it either expires or you retire, and in both cases, you need to retest unless you come back in at 70.
So she's asking for an exception.
Correct.
I would make a motion to deny this request just due to the fact that either route she took would have led to the testing.
We have a motion and a second to deny this request. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We are on to the director's report portion, and this is on page 154. The year to date here is through May 2022. It shows an additional surplus of $266,159, bringing the year to date reserves right under $3 million. We're at $2,966,369. The final numbers for fiscal year 21-22 should be available for the October meeting with any of those cost backs that sometimes do change that last month, in this case June. But I'm very comfortable with where we're ending. We had projected, if the board remembers, those of you that have been here in 2017 when fees were increased, about a $200,000 to $300,000 surplus each month building as we knew new technology. For example, our December meeting in this room might not take place in this year. We're going to rewire. Finally, our battery stopped beeping. But just really work on technology so that these meetings are a little bit smoother, so that it's easier for everybody to navigate with new technology. So all those expenses sometimes add up, especially for our bigger programs. But I'm comfortable with where we are financially. Any questions the board has?
Not going to get a raise. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. Yeah. For your volunteer activities, no, there is no raise for insight, but a thank you from Hugh, Betty, myself, John is always there. So please know how much we appreciate you. Yeah, snacks are everywhere today. So definitely please enjoy. Absolutely. Under new business, I'm going to turn it over to Hugh Cross to update you on the rulemaking hearing.
Yeah, the rulemaking hearing, that's going to be coming up on the next board meeting, October 3rd. I can say I'm pretty sure about this one. I've made all the filings required. I've had internal review. It's been in the governor's office and been approved. So I've even scheduled a court reporter. So I'm expecting to go forward with the rulemaking hearing on October 3rd. So that's my plan and that's my expectation. If anything changes, I will let Roxana know ASAP. But this is for the equipment waiver rules, and it's got removal of the sharps container requirement and some other things in there. But it is a 20-page, almost a 20-page rule packet. So this rulemaking hearing will be a little bit slower than the prior one for apprenticeship, but we'll get it done. So,
Thank you for that.
Left and went on vacation and left the bills.
yeah, yeah.
And we've not heard any comments or controversy on it. There's some cleanup wording in the sanitation chapter that hasn't been touched in a long time, so we're excited to get this going. Any questions regarding the rulemaking hearing? Okay. And the last piece that I have, board members, is on your iPads, and I will make sure to email this to everybody on page 156. It is our 2023 meeting dates. It is that first Monday in the month, as we've always had every other month. And so I'll make sure that everybody has that to put on your calendars. If you see any change or a conflict, please let me know early on. But otherwise, I would need a motion to put these out on the website.
Make a motion to approve it.
We have a motion and a second by Kimberly, I believe, to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And members, it is 10:35. I don't have anything else. Chairman Gillihan, do you have anything?
If you would indulge me for just one moment, there is something I'd just like to mention here. Last month, a former member of our barber board, Mr. Vernon Winfrey, passed away. Mr. Winfrey served the people of the state of Tennessee for a lifetime as a barber. He served very well with the board and fulfilled a great obligation to the public. We of course all know who Mr. Winfrey is. He is Oprah Winfrey's dad. He was a wonderful gentleman. It was my pleasure to serve with him on the old barber board, and we'd extend our condolences, I'm sure, to the family and recognize his service to the people of Tennessee. I'd say thank you to his family for allowing us to have him for a time. Okay. Is there anything else that needs to come before the board?
The Connect workshop that I sat in on, it was very good. She's always very informative, very interactive, and I think she had a good turnout.
Good. Miss Monica Lemons attended our first session. Did you want to fill the board members in on any of? She went to the Knoxville one.
Speaking of, is the TSU conference next weekend or the week after?
It is next Sunday and Monday, and they are doing. They had planned on doing it in person and dual. It's only online now. It's not the dual session. It's only going to be online. They had, I think, 13 to 15 participants signed up, but all were interested in just doing it online. So they didn't think it made any sense to have the dual world, and so they're just going to do it online. And I believe, are you signed up, Ron? Okay.
Well, I
Yes.
was the proctor.
Yes, so you'll be able to call in. I'll make sure that you have the link for that. Okay. So,
Do we need a motion?
please.
I will second it.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, members.
Safe travels to everyone. Our folks from the school, we've concluded our business this morning. I know you've come a long, long way. If you like, generally I like to invite the school folks to come up if you want to take pictures here in the dais and have somebody document that for your school or for yourselves. You're welcome to come up.
Leave home.
Guys, I won't be here in October. I'm still on the baby train. We're having another one.
Thank you.
Enjoyed our talk today.
Thank you. I learned something about you.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
When's the next big trip?
See you in October. Is that the month?
Everywhere you go. Thank you, Miss Betty. We appreciate it. Good to see you. You need some help or anything?
Oh, no.
Now, Pat, just
Yes. I went back to work 3 weeks ago, so I do this every morning. Yeah. I know. COVID kind of threw me off.
Good to see you.
This one had a little lag when I opened it too, but it started working eventually, so I don't know what was going on with it. But... Okay. Yeah. My iPad at home does that. It kind of lags, and then every once in a while you can't scroll through a long PDF. But usually they work quite well.
They do. I'm not complaining. The fact that we haven't replaced these is amazing.
Yeah.
Look, I guess I have another one coming in.
Get her smart ones.
Well,
Yeah.
it's so we have to have an internal review. So it has to
I'll be back in October.
Summoner.
Hey, what'd you do yourself?
Onions.
Oh yeah. Well, we haven't even got that far yet. We haven't got to GovOps yet. You get to GovOps, so you have to have the rulemaking hearing, and then you have to do the second.
Take it online. And told me no. Get a little room.
I'm working on it. Yeah, I'm working on it.
Absolutely.
You need a bail. They don't have a
Well,
bail.
rulemaking hearings are really just, I mean, I just show up and I'm just reading stuff because it's y'all all have copies of everything I'm reading. But it's just,
Bring that bail.
yeah, so it's on the hearing on October, it's on the removal of shark container. So that's the one thing. The bigger thing is the ops that bonds that are offering limited services. So not like, yeah, they don't need all that stuff. Apparently it's really expensive for them and all that. And then there's also some I have to read through all. Yeah, good to see you too.
Okay, so all I need you to do is sign here. And,
It's still fine. It's not really up here.
$32.55. King's Arms, 2 words.
I'll email you a couple.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Start. Okay. Thank you.
How are you doing?
You leaving?
Yeah, I feel that.
Uh,
I didn't need it.
You got it? Oh, thank you.
Right.
Oh, me. Look. I know.
There's something in February. You think you'd be able to get it beforehand? Yeah.
for my nerves. For all of y'all. For my nerves.
I live in Mississippi.